Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Jeffrey Olmsted. I am in charge of marketing at Vertical. This is the fifth of our webinar series that will take us through the end of the year. So here you can see the series of webinars that we have for the remaining months. I'm really excited about who we're going to be bringing in. So we've been bringing in experts from across the industry for each of our webinars. They've been sharing insights, how a cloud migration can accelerate your digital transformation and how it can take your customer experience to a new level. So whether you're on the cusp of taking your CX to the cloud or just want to explore and learn more, this is the series for you. We have some great topics and fantastic guests lined up for the rest of the year. So you definitely want to check out our webinars each month. Before I get too far, I want to talk for a second about who Vertical is. So Vertical is all about great customer experience, great CX. That's why we choose to partner with the best platforms like 8x8. You'll be hearing from them today. And it's also why we deliver what we call the vertical difference to all of our customers. So what that means is that we're a comprehensive communications provider. So from consultation and design to support, service, upgrades, we are your one-stop shop. We have decades of experience. So what that means is that we understand the unique needs of each client, and we know what works and we know what doesn't. So our solutions are not cookie cutter. We tailor everything to your specific needs, and we make sure that you have access to the latest technology, just like some of the solutions that Tony will be talking about today. And also that you have the confidence that these technologies fit your organization and your goals. That's something that we help you with. And the thing that our customers appreciate most about us is that when we work with you, we form a real partnership. So it's a partnership, and we want to help you reach your desired outcomes and really help you deliver that customer experience that you're going for. So that's who Vertical is. Today, we have a special treat. Tony Poor is a Senior Program Manager of Channel CX at 8x8, and he's going to be sharing with us today. You guys know that 8x8 and Vertical has a strong strategic partnership to help companies deliver excellent customer experience. So we're excited to just have him share some insights into how you can look at CX differently and how you can manage that digital transformation. So we're really excited to have Tony joining us today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him so he can introduce himself.
Hey, everybody. My name's Tony, and I am the Contact Center Program Manager for all things CX here at 8x8. I've been with 8x8 for a little over 6 years, but I've been in this industry for over 20 years. A big chunk of my job is helping our partners and our customers understand the capabilities of our technology and how it can be used to improve overall customer experience. I am a big customer experience nerd, and I think about it a lot. I love good experiences. I get way more angry than I should about bad experiences because I know how easy it is to do it right. One of the most common challenges I come across is that companies implement a process or a solution that makes sense at the time, and then they never ever change it. So this cutting edge approach starts to get stale really, really quickly. And that's the foundation for today's discussion, right? How we can leverage these emerging technologies and digital transformation in particular to improve your customer experience. But before I start talking about what you could be doing and why, I want to set the stage a little bit. Some of you might be really familiar with 8x8. Some of you may have never heard of us before today, and you all might be wondering why you should be listening to me at all about this subject. So who are we? 8x8 is a global provider of business communication tools like voice, video, collaboration, and contact center. We are laser focused on your success. I want every single one of our customers to deliver an amazing experience every single time. And customer-obsessed organizations tend to make their experience a competitive advantage. We have the tools in place to let you deliver that. It's easily accessible, it's frictionless, personalized interactions every single time on any channel, any time of day. Now, at 8x8, we're continually pushing the envelope on innovation. We want to give our customers the best solutions to address the customer experience market. That's why we're the only 11-time Gartner Magic Quadrant leader in UCaaS. FYI, it's about to be 12 times as soon as they announce it, I think in the next couple of weeks. We've also been recognized 9 times in the Gartner CCaaS Magic Quadrant. We've got offices in 16 locations worldwide. We've got over 2 million business users with 58,000 customers globally that rely on 8x8 for their business communications. And our customers count on us to provide the reliability and resilience they expect for their cloud communications. That's why we offer the industry's first and only financially backed 99.999% uptime SLA. It spans our 8x8 unified communications tools as well as our CCAS services, not just UC, not just CC. We're talking about the entire platform. You're never going to get that in a scenario where there's multiple vendors because, of course, they're not going to validate somebody else's stuff. That being said, our customers tend to choose us for some very specific reasons. First and foremost, we put everything you need on a single platform, putting unified communications and contact center together on the same platform provides a ton of value for our customers. We call this marriage of UC and CC together. We call it Experience Communications as a Service, or XCaaS. With XCaaS, not only do you get a single vendor with a single bill and a single point of accountability, but you also streamline the employee experience. There's only one system to administer, one framework for integrations and security, one tool for collaboration and communication. There's a study from Metrigy Research that estimates that having a single cloud vendor providing all of your communications tools, right? Voice, video, chat, contact center. If you've got one cloud vendor providing all of that, it can reduce your total cost of ownership by up to 56%. Now, over the last couple of years, we've seen a pretty dramatic shift in how our customers are doing business. Most of them are opting for either a hybrid or even a fully remote employee environment. And that shift is another huge reason that 8x8 has been really successful over this time period. Whether you're just looking to enable at-home workers, expand your labor pool by hiring remotely, looking to deploy a solution internationally, 8x8 is a great choice because of our mobility and our geo-routing capabilities. We also get chosen a lot because of our integration with Microsoft Teams. We're the only Gartner UC leader with a Gartner-recognized contact center product that's been certified by Microsoft for Teams, and it puts all of your customer experience functionality directly into that Teams interface. We look at our solution as being a really great complement to Teams. We have a variety of integrations and touch points depending on your needs. So let's talk about today's subject, digital transformation. We live in a space where we're providing these advanced technology solutions, and we're evolving at a really rapid clip. That, of course, gets us to this subject. What exactly does digital transformation mean? Simply put, it's when a company embeds technologies across their business to drive fundamental change. There are a lot of different paths that we might take, to get from point A to point B. For example, a company might redesign the supply chain to make better use of machine learning or make predictions about the products that customers are going to want 6 months down the road and then shift production to meet that demand. Or to get a little bit more specific to our industry, a company might introduce AI or cloud computing to enhance its customer experience. So the why of digital transformation is pretty straightforward. It gives you a lot of opportunity to add value. It makes you more efficient. It can materially improve your CX scores as well as help you retain employees. It makes you nimble, makes you agile because you've got the data to help you make decisions. At the core, though, it's a shift in attitude. You're moving away from what you've done historically, getting away from the traditional approach, and moving towards a more experimental vision, better living through technology, so to speak. So, admittedly, the previous slide is more of a marketing textbook definition. I can tell you that you can add technology to drive value to improve efficiency, but most of you are probably wondering about some practical examples that might work within your organization. Fortunately, there are a lot of those. Digital transformation could be literally as simple as digitizing your document library, scanning files or photos and storing them online in a searchable database instead of putting them in a filing cabinet. That was, the 1980s definition. But let's think about this in terms of your communications platform. For years, everything was done over the phone. And then we got email, and then we got chat, and then we got screen sharing and video calls and so on. So if you want a really massive example of a seismic shift in everybody's digital transformation strategy, the global pandemic was a fantastic version of this. Between March and April of 2020, everybody on the planet got a crash course in video meetings. And the meeting tool that we're using right now, 8x8 Meet, our usage rate skyrocketed in 2020 when all of our customers had to figure out how to support remote work overnight. Fortunately for our existing customers, they already had the tools in place. But those that didn't were scrambling. In fact, according to Forrester Research, companies spent about $195 billion during the first 3 months of the pandemic trying to figure out how to adapt to remote work. It's a pretty expensive Band-Aid. But beyond the shift to remote work, in 8x8 space in particular, in the customer experience space, one of the most significant changes in the last decade has been adding more communications channels. You can call, email, chat, send an SMS message, make a video call. You can even communicate directly through social media. We often refer to this as omni-channel communication. And for organizations that have focused on voice, making the move to an omni-channel environment can seem kind of overwhelming. Going from one channel to five is a significant change. So let's pause. Let's talk about that for 1 second. In fact, let's talk about social media specifically. I'm confident that there are some of you here that are wondering why on earth you'd ever add social media to your customer experience platform. And here's why. That might be where your customer found you, right? They saw your ad on Facebook. They're thinking about buying the product, but they've got a question. So they go to your profile and they click send message on the Facebook page, hoping that they get their question answered. So who's answering that today? Is it one of your sales reps? Is it a marketing intern? What's the alternative, right? Are you going to make them navigate to an external site to submit a question? Or God forbid, you're going to make them make a phone call? If that's the case, you probably just lost me. You definitely just lost both of my kids. A good customer experience is tailored to the customer's wants and needs. And that starts with letting them communicate with you how they want. They don't really care what you want. So I rattled off a half a dozen options for how they might interact. Keep in mind, you don't have to implement all of them at once. You might not need to implement all of them, period. But you do need to listen to what your customers want and focus on the channels that they want to use today. The most common element that we implement, aside from voice, is web chat. It's a very common starting point, and you're going to see an immediate shift in consumer behavior. You can really easily assign those new channels to just a subset of your team and then evaluate the usage and decide, do we want to expand? Do we want to add new options? You don't need to boil the ocean and add everything all at once. It's not an all or nothing proposition. In fact, it's very often a phased approach because all of these channels are kind of related to each other. Another area that we've seen a lot of growth lately is speech analytics. We can use artificial intelligence to listen to interactions and automatically transcribe the whole conversation, then pick out individual keywords or phrases. And then we can use that data to identify issues and trends before they become a huge problem. For example, let's say your new sales rep keeps forgetting to read off the financial disclaimers before signing up a customer. That could expose you to liability down the road. So the system can tell you right away that they didn't do it. Or you could let that problem go on for 6 months and then not realize it's an issue until somebody decides to sue you over it. Speaking of speech analytics, and this is a tool that's been around for years, but it was an incredibly expensive application, and it required massively powerful servers on site to process all of that information. But cloud computing, in particular, allows you to take advantage of economies of scale. We can now offer tools like speech analytics to everybody at an affordable price when it used to be available only to the biggest enterprises that had really deep pockets. Of course, we can't even mention digital transformation without talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'm assuming everyone's heard of ChatGPT, but on the off chance that you were trapped in a cave since last November, ChatGPT is a conversational AI product that can write a full-on manuscript if you wanted to. Conversational AI is really good at answering questions like, what's the status of my order? Or how can I return these widgets? If it's a high volume, low complexity question, odds are the process can be automated. Of course, some people are reluctant to use AI for a variety of reasons. We know that if you don't program it correctly, it can provide incorrect information. It still feels somewhat artificial. Or maybe we just don't like the fact that when we talk to a bot, we're not talking to a live person, because a good customer experience always means we talked with a live person, right? Well, not exactly. According to an Adobe study from last year, self-service is now overwhelmingly the preferred service form. 98% of the population surveyed would prefer to not have to interact directly with a person. 90% of consumers expect the brand to offer an online self-service portal. Look, you know your customers better than I do. Maybe in your case, the numbers are lower. Maybe they're even higher. I don't know, but it's not zero. It's all about choice. If you're not giving your customers the choice to self-serve, you're not providing them with their best customer experience. So anybody who's still on the fence about this statement, I want you to think about the last purchase you made for Amazon and think about at what point in that process did you talk to an agent? The answer is probably not at all, right? So is the idea that's out there is maybe AI is going to replace customer service agents. Well, it's definitely not going to do that, but it is going to make them better at their job. The traditional customer-facing agent, whether it's in a normal contact center or kind of an informal contact center, that job is hard, and it's getting harder. Has anybody here ever been a contact center agent? I'll just kind of let you answer that one rhetorically. I've been a contact center agent, and that job is not great. I actually used to work in a call center. For those of you that are old enough to remember 411, you used to dial information, and you could ask somebody's name and get their phone number so that you could call them directly. I lasted about 6 weeks because not only was the job incredibly boring, but it was the same thing over and over and over again. In a lot of cases, people were upset. Sometimes they were crying because they were trying to track down, loved ones. It was not a great job. And it was hard. And I only had a phone and a single application to use, right? It's pretty straightforward. Today, the typical contact center agent uses at least 5 applications every time they have to handle an interaction. They're moving between their phone, their CRM, order entry systems, billing systems, knowledge bases, and now email, chat, SMS, social media. That's a lot to take on. So consider this. The number of interactions that are coming into a contact center, it grows by about 2.5% year over year. But the number of interactions that get handled by a live person are dropping by about 2%. So that's almost a 5% swing. That's mostly because people are adopting self-service and automation for their common inquiries. What does that mean? It means all the basic stuff gets handled by bots. So by default, the agent is now handling more complex interactions. All the things that the bot can address, those fall in the agent's lap. So some of you are hearing this and thinking, yeah, my agents are already stretched pretty thin. We're not even handling chat or email yet, and you want me to add more to their plate? Well, if you're an organization that's focused on voice, making that leap can seem like a massive commitment. But here's the good news. Our tools can consolidate all of this into a single interface, one single spot for everything. I want to simplify their lives as much as possible. And now I want you to think about the types of interactions that your agents handle, right? What if I could get rid of 20% of their work? All the password resets, all the questions about shipping, the price of widgets, all the really basic stuff that you could teach a kindergartner how to do. Let's offload all of that mundane stuff to a bot that's available 24/7 and that never gets tired of doing password resets, right? What would that make your agents more effective? Or maybe more importantly, would that make your agents less likely to quit? Because that's probably at the core of every CX challenge you're facing, agent attrition. There's a fantastic online publication called Contact Center Pipeline. They do a survey every year of about 400 contact center leaders, and they ask them, what's the biggest challenge you're facing? Every year, year after year, regardless of technology, it's always at the top of the list: attrition. In fact, the 2022 study, which, by the way, the 2023 study should be coming out very soon, but the data from 2022, the top 4 items are all human capital related, right? Hiring and recruiting, workload, high attrition, high absence ratio. To me, that's 4 different ways of saying the exact same thing. We need more people. I'd go so far as to say that if you don't have an attrition problem, I want to hear from you directly because you're doing something that the rest of the industry has not figured out yet. And why is attrition such a big deal? Well, because it's an expensive issue. On average, 75% of your budget goes towards salary. And the average turnover in the contact center space is around 40% annually. Sometimes it's lower, oftentimes higher, but again, never zero. So think about how much time we spend as leaders to recruit, interview, and hire these people. That's before we even get started on training them. The average onboarding time is about 10 days, but let's be frank. Onboarding is just the time between when you hire them and when they're doing their job. It doesn't really mean that they're good at it yet. So if I'm going to build an ROI around a new technology solution, I have to consider the impact on my most expensive problems. In most cases, that's going to be attrition. So to me, and this is the key to your digital transformation strategy, will my strategy impact employee retention? If the answer is yes, it's a step forward that I should take. So in order to support this, with 8x8 in particular, we needed to deliver a differentiated, high value, easy to understand self-service offering that delivers positive customer experiences and reduces expenses. So with that in mind, I wanted to talk a little bit about 8x8's conversational AI product. It's called Intelligent Customer Assistant. It uses conversational AI to manage self-service interactions. It's really easy to deploy, easy to use, easy to report on. There's a lot to love about this application. First and foremost, ICA customers can build or adjust their conversational flows with clicks. You don't have to build any code. This is a huge, huge shift from the traditional programming approach. It's a no-code environment with pre-built templates for your more complex scenarios, and customers can move seamlessly from a bot to a human with either a short summary or the full context of the interaction that gets presented to live agents. It's got pre-built connectors into more than 20 different channels and applications, so you can easily deploy and integrate with the rest of your workflow. Not only that, but the conversation flows can be built once and then applied to any channel, and you can do it in over 100 different languages. Automating the experience is only half of it, though. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? We're delivering a comprehensive set of analytics on these interactions directly into our supervisor workspace. ICA can also surface customer friction points or points of failure in the conversation and provide suggestions on how to improve that pain point. So not only are we telling you exactly what happened, we're also telling you how it can be improved for next time. We're bringing functionality that was previously out of reach to everybody except the largest enterprise contact centers by making it easy to buy, easy to deploy, easy to make ads or changes, and you can automate conversations on any channel. Here's the thing: bots aren't free. They're not. You've got to pay somebody. But let's talk ROI for a quick second. If the cost to handle a phone call by a live agent is $5, which is pretty standard, maybe even on the low end of the spectrum, if you can shift just 2% of your transactions to self-service, there's a massive benefit. If you're getting a million calls a month, that 2% equals $100,000. So the ROI potential here is pretty significant. Not to mention what this is going to do to your CSAT scores, your customer experience overall. You're going to minimize wait times and provide personalized interactions to your customers. You're going to increase agent engagement and get rid of the mundane, repetitive tasks that make them want to leave their jobs. You're going to reduce your operational costs by streamlining your admin time. You're going to get comprehensive analytics with suggestions on how to make improvements. Of course, conversational AI and automation are not the only digital transformation options you should consider. Call recording and quality management have been augmented with AI to make finding and reviewing an interaction easier than it's ever been before. Now, quality management is the idea that when you record a phone call, you should be able to not only find it and listen to it really easily, but also be able to grade the performance of your employees on those calls. It gives you an empirical look at how your team is doing so you can say with confidence that, hey, Jeff is my best customer service guy, not just because he's friendly, but because we listen to 10 calls a month and his average score is 90 out of 100. And I know the exact areas where he's doing well. I also know the areas, if there are any, where maybe he's consistently missing top marks. So if I'm going to build a plan to make him better, I've got some very specific action items. And those tools aren't just for voice, right? We can monitor and evaluate digital interactions like chat or SMS as well. With those scorecards, you can ask whatever questions make sense for your business or have different types of scorecards for different teams and then report and analyze on that data. Another component is interaction analytics for both speech and text. This is an AI-driven translation of the entire conversation. For speech analytics, we're just going to transcribe that audio of a recorded call, and we do it in multiple languages. For digital interactions like chat or SMS, we're just taking that text transcript. But in either case, you can search for specific keywords, or you can search for trends or topics like, show me every time the customer asked about the return policy, or how do I buy widgets? Regardless of the specific words they used to ask about, you can find those topics. In addition, it can provide sentiment analysis by listening to the volume, the inflection, the tone of voice of both of the speakers to determine if that call was positive or negative. Or it could be less about coaching and more about compliance, right? Maybe it's making sure your sales team is always reading the appropriate disclaimers or validating that they're sticking to the right script. And unlike some other speech tools, we're giving you a predefined list of topics and categories to choose from right out of the box. So on day one, you'll have a working analytics platform. We fully expect, though, that you're going to want to edit, add, modify, delete certain phrases. You know, if you're a medical device manufacturer, I promise you, the name of your artificial heart valve is not already in our speech analytics platform, but it's really easy to add. So we make it easy to review those changes and tweak those changes. Again, no coding is required. Now, in the cloud, these tools have traditionally only been available for use by contact center agents, right? You had to have a full-blown contact center platform to make this work. But remember, with 8x8, we're putting contact center and UC together on the same platform. That means I can give speech analytics and call recordings and evaluations to anybody I want across the entire organization. So when I think about where tools like quality management and speech analytics have an impact, we're not just talking about contact center agents. I'm talking about anybody in the company, right? Your inside sales team, the IT help desk, the billing department. Everybody here has probably heard the phrase, this call may be recorded for quality assurance purposes, right? We kind of become desensitized to it at this point because every call we make to a business now has that disclaimer on top of it. And that's one of the biggest benefits of a quality monitoring tool, right? It's a fantastic training device. I want you to think about your onboarding process just for a minute, especially if you have contact center agents, but also just in general. What's it like to be a new hire at your company? Is there a period of time where you'd be shadowing a more experienced person? For a lot of us, the answer is yes. And why do we shadow? Well, it's so we can see firsthand how somebody does their job. If I watch 100 interactions, I can understand exactly how it's supposed to work. And also, I can see those outliers, right? The weird one-off scenarios that only come up once every 100th time. Or how do I deal with this weird side request? Or how do I respond when my customer is upset about a very specific thing? Now, imagine that instead of shadowing somebody for a week, I only have to shadow them for a day. And then I spend 5 hours reviewing a library of best practices, right? This is how you respond in scenario A. This is how you definitely not respond to scenario B. That's a concrete example of how speech analytics can impact your training and decrease the amount of time you spend doing it. So please look at all 10,000 calls we got last month and find every scenario where we had a customer ask for a refund, but where my retention team got them to stay. Find me every scenario where my support team had an opportunity to suggest a cross-sell or an upsell to a product, but they didn't do it. Look at all my interactions and show me what phrases my top sellers use to win business. Or maybe you're looking for trends within your customer base, right? Are they all asking about the same features that maybe you don't offer yet? Are they mentioning your competitors' pricing or your competitors' strategies? Are they asking really, really similar questions to your support team over and over and over again? And can I do anything with that information to make my customer experience better? Perhaps you're obligated to read financial disclosures every time you sign up a customer for your service. How confident are you that that's happening every single time? And by the way, if that scenario applies to any of you, and your answer to that is that you're paying somebody to listen to every single call, I need you to talk to the team at Vertical as soon as we're done with this webinar, because we're going to be able to save you a ton of money and time by automating that process. Speaking of money and time, we know one of the main reasons that people quit their jobs is because they're not very good at it, or at least they think they're not very good at it. As we look critically at ourselves and our onboarding and training processes, is there anything we can do to make people better faster? If I can give somebody the tools to succeed, they're going to stick around for longer, right? There's a direct link between your training process and your attrition rate. And if attrition is your most expensive problem, then focusing on your training is a great way to mitigate that. So now I'm sure I've whipped you into a frenzy with this carnival-like atmosphere, talking about AI and automation and all the things we can do. And you're reaching for your checkbooks and you want to implement all this stuff tomorrow. We can do that, but we have to take it one step at a time. I get asked all the time, whether it's by partners or customers of mine, what are we doing with AI? It's a fair question. It's all anybody talks about at every single conference, event, webinars like this one. It's a hot topic, but it's kind of a flawed question. It's like asking, what are you doing with the internet? Because the answer is, well, we do everything with the internet. We do everything with AI. It's not just some new product or feature that we're releasing. It's a core part of our entire platform, and it's part of every single thing that we do. So when a customer says, show me what you got with AI, we're going to be talking for a while, right? And I might be showing off features that don't resonate. We're just throwing spaghetti at the wall at that point and hoping that something sticks, which is not an optimal way to do business. Now, that approach is kind of backwards. So first and foremost, when a customer says, we'd like to explore our options with digital transformation, specifically with AI, we need to know what problems we're trying to solve. Not the symptoms or the byproducts of those problems, but the actual problems themselves. And this is a more difficult question to answer than you might think. One of the first customers that I ever worked with when I was with 8x8, when I walked into their organization, they said, hey, one of the things we need you to integrate to is a blue strobe light. There's a blue light that flashes inside of our contact center every time that there is more than 5 callers in queue. And so I put my engineering hat on and I thought, all right, how am I going to make this cloud-based communications platform talk to a 30-year-old analog blue strobe light that's hardwired into their infrastructure? We figured it out using APIs and some analog transfer devices, but we actually stepped back and said, well, why do you need the blue strobe light to flash? And they said, well, our customer service agents and our sales agents, they're the same people. And right now, if you're logged into the sales line, you can't be in customer service and vice versa. So if everybody's hanging out on customer service calls and we've got callers waiting in the sales queue, we need to alert those people that they should log out of customer service and log into sales. And also, we have no way of showing in real time how many callers are in a given queue. So we use the strobe light to alert people, hey, it's time to switch over. So the actual core problem was that they couldn't be in 2 queues at once and they didn't have real-time visibility into their metrics. That was the problem. But the way that it was presented was, hey, we need to make sure you can integrate to this blue strobe light. So as you think about your core problems, remember, the blue strobe light is not the problem. If you tell somebody to implement a blue strobe light, they're going to try to implement a blue strobe light. Once we identify the actual problem or problems in an environment that we're trying to address, then we need to understand why they're important, right? In the blue light scenario, The lack of visibility meant that people were waiting longer than necessary just to buy their products, which, if it wasn't obvious, that's how the company makes money. So look at those problems and understand what the impact is, whether it's a financial problem, whether it impacts customer experience, which ultimately is a financial problem, or if it impacts attrition, which again, financial problem. And then we can look at what's causing that problem. Are there gaps in the reporting data? Are there gaps in the training process? Are there gaps in the visibility that you have to the data that's presented? Gaps in security, compliance, payment processing. Where are your gaps? From there, we should have a pretty good idea of where to act. So let's go back to that AI question from a moment ago and look at it through the lens of addressing a specific problem. What is the problem? I have high attrition rates in my contact center. Why is it important? Well, it's fantastically expensive to interview, hire, and train an agent only to have them leave after 6 weeks. Why is that an issue? Well, it turns out that agents don't like having to handle password resets because they're annoying, and it means that the agent doesn't have an opportunity to sell that product, right? If it's a support call, I can't make money on it. That takes money out of their pocket. So what's the solution? Let's look at automation to address the high volume, low complexity tasks like password resets, maybe some other things as well. So now I've got a targeted solution tied to a specific problem that I can build an ROI around. Now, speaking of ROI, I suspect that some of you might be wondering how long it takes to recognize the impacts of the investments we're talking about. With automation, you're going to see a change on day one, right? If your plan was to handle password resets automatically, then as soon as you implement that technology, you're going to see the number of inquiries handled by a live person diminish. And over time, you're going to see more and more requests go through the automated process. So you're going to see an immediate decrease on those inquiries. And if we see that decrease, maybe if it's even by 10%, we're going to start to see some other improvements down the line. And this is where a week, a month, 6 weeks after, we're going to start to really see some improvements. First, you're going to see your average wait time decrease because all those password resets are no longer in the picture. Then you're going to see your CSAT and your NPS scores improve because you've got lower wait times, and agents are going to be more equipped to handle the interactions that do wind up getting in front of them. Then you're going to look back and realize that your attrition rate has improved over the last 6 months because customers are happier and agents aren't getting burned out as quickly. So measuring the impacts starts the second you implement the technology, but, and this is critical, if you don't understand how or where that technology impacts your team, you're probably not going to be able to measure it very effectively. That's why taking a holistic look at your communication strategy is a critical first step. And that's also one of the reasons that 8x8 has had such a successful partnership with Vertical. Their team is incredible when it comes to identifying challenges, highlighting solutions, making your customer experience better. So I want to thank you guys all very much for your time today. I know that there's a lot of technology solutions that are competing for your attention and trying to kickstart your digital transformation journey. I really appreciate you spending the hour with us. Working with 8x8 is going to give you a unique advantage because we can control your entire communications portfolio. It's one system to manage for your employee experience, your customer experience, all of your internal and external communications with bleeding edge AI and machine learning capabilities all in one space. So I'm going to turn this back over to Jeff to see if there's any questions either from the audience or from the team at Vertical that we can address as part of this discussion. Jeff, back over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. While we're waiting for questions, go ahead and write that into the chat, and then I'll pass that along to Tony. One of the things that I wanted to see if you could talk about a little bit more, Tony, was some of those examples of delivering that exceptional CX. Do you have anything else you can talk about in regards to that?
Yeah, when we think about like specific practical examples that mean a great customer experience, in my opinion, there is no reason to not know who your best customers are, right? If you keep track of your customer information at all, you should know who your top customers are and then who your average customers are. So when they call, you should be leveraging technology to greet them personally and try to speed up that engagement. So, for example, if I have an open support ticket with your organization, you should be aware of that and probably ask right up front if that's what I'm calling about. Or here's a concrete example. These guys are not a client of ours, but I'm a client of theirs. American Airlines is a great example. Every time I call American Airlines, it answers the phone and says, "Hi, Tony. I see you have a flight today at 4:00. Is that what you're calling about?" So it knows who I am, greets me by name, and based on the data that it has available, it's making a guess at why I'm calling. So if I am calling about that flight that's coming up later this afternoon, I say yes, and then it takes me through a couple of other prompts and either answers my question or connects me to an agent. Alternatively, if I say, no, this is not what I'm calling about, it says, well, describe to me what your issue is, and then it routes me to the right person. But right off the bat, its goal is to try to streamline that conversation as much as possible. Don't connect me with an agent, make me provide my name, do all these lookups. Know who I am right away based on my caller ID number or based on me entering a password or something like that. With that, you can provide a great customer experience every time. And here's another scenario to consider. When we call in, and whether it's your airline or whoever, but if you call in to a business and you get asked to enter your account number and provide some information, and then you get connected to a live person, what's their first question? Can I get your account number? That, in my opinion, is terrible. Not only should we know what the account number is because I've already given it, but the agent should have a brief summary of what kind of customer you are, right? And how are they going to get that? Well, here's where things like generative AI, things like Chat GPT in particular, they can come in really handy. AI can read that transcript of my last 5 conversations and provide a 3 sentence summary for that agent. So right out of the gate, even if I haven't provided a bunch of information, the agent can know, hey, this guy buys a bunch of widgets from us. He had to return one for defects last week. He's got another shipment coming out on Friday. So right away, the agent has all that information summarized right in front of them to try to help me as quickly as possible. Here's a bad example, right? It's kind of the inverse. I've recently changed health insurance providers. When I call in to ask a question, they know my company based on the phone number that I'm calling in on. But when I talk to a rep, the first question they ask is, hey, what company are you with? That is not personalized service. And it indicates to me right away that that organization has not invested in making a great customer experience. If we know who our customers are, and most of us do, and we know who the best customers are, and we've got record of them, we should absolutely be using that information to make the customer experience as streamlined and as personalized as possible. AI is great for that, by the way. Have any other questions come in, Jeff?
Nope, that was it. So thank you so much, Tony.
My pleasure, guys. If there's anything else, by all means, reach out to the team at Vertical. I'm more than happy to answer any questions for you guys or try to help you figure out with your digital transformation strategy. That being said, I've worked with the team at Vertical for a long time. They are experts in this space, and I'm sure that they can add a ton of value for you.
Yep. And just to add to that, thank you. Really appreciate your time. Thanks, Tony, for the awesome webinar. I hope everybody found it useful, and no matter where you're at in the CX journey, we'd love to talk with you and help you be able to deliver that awesome customer experience. We're going to be doing another webinar next month. The date is October 11th, and we're going to be talking about analytics, the right way to use them, and how they can really be a game changer for you. The title of that webinar is Want to Get Ahead, Gain Insights, and Act on Them. So it's going to be really useful. I hope you can join us for that. Thanks again for attending, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks, guys.